Hey you guys, what's up? We are so thankful that you are back watching another awesome episode on Living Real TV, where we're all about real conversations for real women. I'm Karissa Adkins.
And I'm Clara Capano.
And get ready, because we're going to help you boss up and find clarity in your life and what it sounds like in your home today. We are talking all about decluttering and how when our lives are filled with so much stuff, whether it's physical or mental, it can really impact our mental health as well as our production and all kinds of amazing things. We're going to dive in. So, of course, like every episode we do, we always bring on the best cocktail, which comes with the best mixologist.
Absolutely.
Dion, what do you got?
Well, ladies, I heard that you were doing an episode about not being cluttered, and so I decided to be a minimalist today.
Ooh,
I'm going to do
okay.
the minimal amount of work to make one of the most famous and oldest American cocktails in history, the Daiquiri.
The Daiquiri.
So we're going to start out with some gold medal winning modern matriarch amber rum.
So I think daiquiri, this is the level of daiquiri I'm used to. Frozen, blended, and pour the thing.
Exactly.
So, believe it or not, the history of the daiquiri is actually milded into not having ice at all. It was actually served to servicemen in the Navy so that they didn't get scurvy. So they all got their rations of rum, and they were like, this rum is terrible. And so then they ended up mixing it with lime to make it palatable, and boom, the daiquiri appears one day.
So I'm hearing it's another health drink, so it'll keep us healthy, not from getting scurvy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Scurvy.
Well,
I know there's a rampant, exodus of scurvy going around.
Scurvy is going around like hotcakes right now.
So good.
Oh my goodness. So we use a little bit of real mango syrup. The stuff is made from real mangoes, and it's basically blended and macerated down with just a small amount of sugar to make a wonderful puree / syrup. And then we finish it with a little bit of lime juice. And that is literally all there is to a daiquiri. A lot of people like to add a pinch of salt, which is I personally love that. But, with mango, you don't really need to add a little bit of salination to it. It just works by itself.
And I do love mango. I know when we go to Mexico, that's usually one of our go-tos is the mango daiquiri, although I have a feeling this one is going to elevate that quite a bit.
We're going to have the new standard for a mango daiquiri is going to be huge. I'll be honest, I've seen this jar of mango stuff, but I've never, and maybe not necessarily mango, but I've seen that now that I've seen the bottle. I had no idea what it was.
I've never seen it.
I've seen it, which makes sense because right in the middle of winter, it's really hard to get your hands on fresh, delicious mango and fresh fruit. So this is probably a great way to bring it in, huh?
Well, along with good conversation, we are educating.
Of course.
That is our role.
Number one priority, educate.
Looks like I went a little short there. Oh no, I'll have to make more.
We got to make a little more. Can't have a shortcoming with our mango daiquiri.
Absolutely not.
But yeah, I've never seen it. I always just assumed they were always, frozen and put together. So it's nice to be able to see a different spin on this.
Right.
And how easy it is.
And without the brain freeze.
Yeah, they always seem so complex. So it's nice to see how simple it can be. Just 3 ingredients there.
Well, isn't that how we do a lot of things in life? Us women, we like to complicate the crap out of everything, including our cocktails.
Yeah.
And Dion says we don't need it. Couple key things. And you guys, if you're wondering why the third, we do have an amazing guest we're bringing on for the second half of this show. So stay tuned because we have an amazing expert. Her name is Andrea. She's coming in from Kansas City. She has an awesome story, awesome business, of course. So stay with us.
Cheers, ladies.
Thank you, Dion.
As always, thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, thank you.
Well, here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To decluttering our lives. With a mango daiquiri. I actually feel like I just went to Mexico for a minute. And
It does. You know, the wonderful thing about this is we are filming, and it's in January, and it is cold outside.
Yes.
This is giving me a little kiss of summer.
Yes.
You know, and again, taking me back. So what a great way to,
good.
connect with those memories. And yeah, I'm not ready to put mine down yet.
Well, the only reason why is because I'm like being mindful. I'm like, if I keep holding, I will keep drinking,
Yes.
and I want to make sure that I have plenty. Yeah, I love how fresh that is, and who would have known that squeeze stuff was actually good.
Learning new things every day.
Love it.
So as we get ready to, talk about decluttering, and I love the fact that we're talking about not just our space, but also our minds. We also know we need to stay motivated to keep that happening. So when you're thinking about keeping yourself motivated, what is one of your best tips to help you stay motivated?
You know, it kind of goes along with it. I mean, there's 1,000 ways that I could go right now that we always touch on. So I'm going to bring a different aspect to this maybe. Sometimes when I'm feeling lost and out of control at my desk, I literally need to declutter something. Like it really is, it's something, whether I go through my pen drawer and I get rid of it, or I quickly go through my files, and just make sure that everything looks neat and tidy, I all of a sudden feel a little bit more motivated. I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to work, right?
Yeah.
So I know it's so stupid simple, but that's like these cocktails.
It
It's
is.
a minimalist.
It is. Yeah.
What about you?
One of the things I really love to do is watch others. What I find is that when I am feeling held back or feeling a little lackluster, when I watch others who I admire and I see how they're out there kicking butt, I'm like, damn, I got to get out there. I love when I listen to you and you and I talk and going through all these ideas, and I'm like, oh, I want to be a part of that movement, and it really energizes me to get up and take some action too.
You're so right, and it's because we want to rise up. Like we see that, and it's inspirational and it's admirable, and that's why we both 100% agree. I know you've said it in the past. You got to surround yourself with people who are 10 times ahead of you. Like really, and you can pick up on so many amazing things. So when I see you speak, or when I see other women do things, and I'm like, well, I've always wanted to be on a magazine. Like I will literally click on them and just ask them, say, what did you do to get on that? Or what did you do to do this? Or how did you do that? And women just want to help, I have noticed. Right. We just have to be willing to ask for it. What do you think?
That's absolutely true. Yeah. We can't be afraid. And I know you and I were talking about this, and you picked up and you researched somebody who did a documentary because you said, hey, how could I make that happen?
Right.
And there's so much beauty and greatness out there, and I think that's one of the things we just have to remember is sometimes it's just in the ask. Don't be afraid to ask.
Ladies, you gotta ask.
Absolutely.
Ask for what you want.
Absolutely.
And honestly, Clara, today I want to talk about decluttering. I want to talk about organization. I want to talk about feeling in control, and I want to talk about how we need to, personally, how I think we need to get rid of some stuff in order to open up space for new.
Absolutely. And going back to the idea of asking, when we were laying out the list of possible topics, this was one that I asked for because I do struggle with this. I'm very sentimental, and I love keeping things because they bring me back the memories. So ever since a kid, I keep things. I keep, scraps of paper from boyfriends past who would, leave me little messages. Stuffed animals. I have my very first stuffed animal from when I was a kid. Photos. There are things, and I don't like to get rid of things because I want to be able to connect with them. The problem is I'm 50 years old now. So it's been piling up and piling up and piling up, and it can become a problem. Because as you mentioned, it does clutter my mind because then I have, piles upon piles of things. It's not like I'm a hoarder by any means, but I don't know if it's necessary that I keep all these things.
Sure. Well, I want to get curious, the coach in me. So what do you...
Do I need to lay down on the couch for this question?
Let's meditate first. Let's envision it first. No, I think when you have stuff and you're really, if you say you're sentimental and you're holding on to it because you remember those things, I want to flip it. What do you fear? What do you fear if you get rid of it?
Probably, just the fear of losing that memory, losing that connection. I think also there is a part of me that if I get rid of it, it minimizes the impact that it had on me. And I don't want anyone to, maybe feel bad that what they gave me wasn't worthy of me keeping.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I mean, there's always another layer. It's like the onion, right? And we know that. And, and if we feel like there's an area that you want to declutter by, like, I bring it up because me and my sister are totally opposite. So she's got a lot of stuff. We're going to say it like that. I don't keep anything. And what's funny is when we were growing up, we were actually opposite. So my middle name is Joelle, and my first name is Karissa, and I hated Sloppy Joes. And so she literally nicknamed me Sloppy Joe, right? Like Karissa Joe. And it was funny to her. It's not funny to me, and it's kind of sticks. And I accidentally told my husband about it, so now he says it. But you know, I was a sloppy child, right? Like I would go in my closet and everything all of a sudden would be all over the floor. My mom would always say, Karissa, why can't you keep your room clean for like one day? And now I'm dealing with that with my own daughter. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's not that I kept stuff. I was just messy, right? I didn't have a lot of stuff in my room, but everything that I had was out. There was never a place for it. I didn't really even care to put it away. And when you have to share a room with your sister who didn't like all the stuff everywhere.
My sister and I were the same way. I'm the messy one.
Yes, right? And she was like, Karissa, it's like driving me crazy. But it's funny because now she's total opposite, right? And I remember when I was in Germany, we were stationed there, and I came back, I flew home because my mom was getting ready to downsize, and my mom kept everything. So entrepreneur who's also her industry is weddings, and so we had glassware, we had flowers, we had rental ware, anything that you would eat, tables, chairs, cocktail tables, linens. I was just like, oh my gosh. So she always had like a 3-car garage, but it was all filled with business stuff. Like she never once parked in her garage. I was like, oh my God, Mom. But anyways, I flew home because she was battling cancer, and she was on tri-levels of a house, and she couldn't do it. Her body was tough, so she was moving to a ranch. And she flew me home for that, and we spent probably a solid 2 weeks decluttering her entire house. And I said, Mom, why did you ask me to do it? And she's like, you're the only one who will give it to me straight, right? My sister, anyone who else will love her, they would say, Mom, you can keep that and you can keep that. But, you have to remember, I was in business with this woman, and I was like, we don't need it. We now live in an age where we can rent the stuff from a company who has it. Like, we don't need it. And there were lots of battles and fights, and we would always, of course, come across stuff that, was maybe her mom's or passed down that she was keeping. And she would hold it up, and I'm like, we don't need that, Mom. And she would, there would some tears. And she's like, one of these days I'm going to die and you're going to have nothing from me. And I was like, Mom, I don't need 1,000 things to remember you by. I need one, right? And I need the love that I know that you have. But I think that when I'm stressed, I pitch. I really do. And sometimes it bites me in the ass. But I'm like, where's that paper? Where is, it's in the garbage or whatever it is. So it's kind of a coping mechanism for me that I get rid of. I purge, get rid of out of it. Yep. Yeah. What about you?
I tend to do that too. And again, sometimes it comes back because I don't purge organizationally wise. And, a fashion that's going to be safe. I just get to the point where I get so frustrated. But what I also find is if I don't have things in their place, it takes me longer to do simple tasks. And so I've started in my business area, trying to be more organized than in my personal life because I don't want things to fall through the cracks.
Sure.
So when you go into my office and those things tend to be a little bit more organized and have their place, and everything has a system because I don't want to be searching for documents and searching for items. So even in my computer, I have a lot of folders. But, definitely then, in my home life and even, in my drawers, I don't like to always get rid of clothes because I may want to wear them again.
Right.
Now, the plus and the minus side to that is I have so many things that my drawers are overfilling, and you hear, if you haven't worn it in 6 months, throw it out. Well, I will tell you, this has really come in handy filming TV shows when I need to have a wide array of outfits because now as I'm going through, if I would have gotten rid of everything. So I think there has to be a balance to it.
Like everything.
And, just looking with everything. But it is definitely an area I struggle with. And I think it does keep me from going forward because in some shape or form, I think there's a mental block in my head. And I think this is why I've shared in past episodes where a challenge for me has been taking the leap and taking action sooner rather than later. And I think I struggle with letting go. So this is another example of how maybe if I could open up and be willing to let go of some simple things, it might give me the confidence to let go of some of the bigger things.
Let's definitely make sure we ask our expert on ways that you could, she can help you let go of some of those things. And I know so many women have so much stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff in our physical space can make me feel suffocated. And I think that's, I grew up with that, with so much stuff. And so when you go to my house, like, there's not a lot of stuff. There's a few things here or there, but everything has its place. And when I was in Germany, I actually, I became very OCD. I was taking medication for it and everything because I wanted everything to have its spot. And it was a house it was European. There was not a lot of, there was not a lot of cupboards. There was not like America. We have space. We have storage space. We don't have a lot of that in these homes. And so I became obsessed. Like, the kids wouldn't put their shoes in the cubby and the coats wouldn't be in the rack, and I would just go crazy with it. I'm like, you guys. And I just felt like my life was in control when the stuff had a place, and it drove me nuts because they could not, they could not figure it out. And I'm like, Karissa, I would yell at them. I'm like, okay, stop. These are 5 years old. They could care less. They just came in, wanted to throw their shoes off. But I took that lesson of, like, I feel more in control of my environment and my health and everything when for me, my life is decluttered and it's organized, right? It's neat. My calendar's neat. Everything's neat. So the very first thing that I make my clients do, like in module 1 and in the week, week 1, is pick something in your life that you need to declutter. Because I truly believe that it's really hard for us to step into something new if we still have so much old.
Right.
And so and most of the time now, my clients, it's like the pantry, the fridge, all the condiments that you're not going to be using anymore, like those kinds of things. But I'm like, it could be a purse. It doesn't matter what it is, but don't you just feel good when you clean out some and you're like,
It does. And it's amazing how quickly it can go back if you don't have a system. So I know our expert's going to help us with that. But what I want to talk about and shift it over to right now before we, get to the halfway point here is we also want to talk about the clutter that could be in our mind. So when you talk about clutter from a mental standpoint, what does that mean to you?
For me, it means all the bullshit. The noise, the world, the opinions, people's beliefs. They literally, people have no problem filling your mind with garbage, toxicity, and that's social media, that's magazines, that's print, that's billboard. We have so much stuff coming into our minds. And so knowing that as a mindset coach, like, I literally only let so much things in. And in fact, the things I'm letting in are the things that I want them to be seen. But I don't have cable, right? Because I don't want the news or all of that stuff entering my mind. If I'm listening to a podcast, like, it's specific, it's going in. Like, I'm always telling people, well, your food is great, but so is what you're putting in there.
Absolutely.
And you need to do the brain dumps every now and then. You need to, even your own stuff, your own baggage, the guilt that you feel, you got to let it go, right?
And I think you're right, Mia. We're in an age where we have access to so much information, and that is wonderful, and it can also be a detriment. And I think you hit on something really important, that you have to start thinking about, we talk so much about getting clear on your vision. You then have to think about, what are you bringing in so you don't clutter your brain with the wrong things. So again, really paying attention to what you are allowing in from an educational standpoint, from a growth standpoint, so that you really can save your brain power to focus on the right areas.
Yeah, I mean, we can only make so many decisions a day, right? And so when you think sales in general, if you're trying to make sales, your sales calls really do need to be on a Monday or Tuesday. Why? Because people have made less decisions. If you have a call on a Friday, professionals have made thousands of decisions. I mean, you wake up, you brush your, a lot of that's automatic, but the choices that you make, the people you hang out with, like all these, the business decisions you make, what's for dinner, all of these things cloud us. And then on Friday, if you're having a sales call, I guarantee let me take the weekend to think about it. They don't want one more decision to make.
They're already checked out. Absolutely.
I mean, have you ever, sometimes I have to tell Will, he'll be like, baby, what do you want to eat for dinner? I'm like, baby, just make a decision. I have made 1,000 today and I am overwhelmed and I don't even know what I want, right?
Absolutely.
You make it and then I will choose.
I've had that conversation so many times with people where I just tell them, and I do this a lot when we go on our sister trips, and many times I'll be like, listen, you guys make all the plans. And they'll say, well, what do you want to do when we're in Paris? And I'm like, listen, I'm going to Paris. I'm going to have a great time.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter to me. I'm just showing up. And it's so freeing to me because I can really just go and have fun because I have to make so many high-level decisions every day, and I have to guide others on making high-quality decisions. It's so true.
I mean, it just makes sense.
And just makes it easy.
I want to ask you, because you're like that business expert, and you really touch on calendar and schedule. I mean, what happens if you put everything on your calendar? How do you feel if you're like bombarded from 8 to 8 p.m.? I mean, with meetings, do you think?
Well, I don't do that to myself because of, again, that clutter and, looking at that. And that's a really good, analogy of putting it together because my calendar is not cluttered. Everything has a place in its calendar. And when I put together I start with my optimal week. If I could wave my magic wand, what would it be? And I have everything compartmentalized, and it also works in accordance with how my brain works. So I can do my higher functioning activities in the earlier part of the morning and the week. And then the ones that don't need as much brain power towards the end of the week. And, allowing myself to have time to declutter my brain by going to work out or going for a walk. I'm really big because I usually get up early in the morning like you do, and my main workout is usually in the morning. But then I am a big fan of either taking a power nap or going for a walk in the afternoon because that's a way that by stepping away, because if I'm sitting at my desk all day long, it becomes overwhelming. And sometimes I need to declutter my emotional space by stepping away from my desk.
Yes, we need it. We need it. And when you think about women will come to me, one of their biggest things is that when they get home from work, they just can't stop eating, right? They're like making dinner with one hand and shoving Cool Ranch Doritos in the other. They're like, it's just so mindless, but I'm hungry, but I'm not. And they're so on autopilot, but they're hungry. And what I get is you've made 1,000 decisions before you've even got home.
Right.
So it's really hard to nourish your body with good stuff if you're already over cluttered mentally with everything.
And that's where I think the meal prep, which isn't always easy to do. So again, that's why there's beautiful services that can do that now for you. But I think if you are feeling, pressured to be able to do that, have one less decision that you have to worry about. And so I think that's the beauty that meal prep has helped with me is I do still love to cook, but I always have 2 or 3 meals ready to go for those days where I'm like, I'm just hungry and I don't want to make another decision.
We don't make good decisions when we're into that. And I love food prep and I'm a huge fan of it, and it's a way to save money and costs and time and stress. But there are some more days out of others where I'm like, thank God, I don't even have to think about what I want to eat for lunch.
Right.
I don't even have to think about I had to think about it for 20 minutes on a Sunday when I was prepping it, or 20 minutes, when I was planning it. Other than that, the biggest thing is I have to think about is 2 minutes or 1 minute on a microwave. And it makes life easy.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's, as women, and as busy women, whether you've got a full-time job, a side hustle, part-time job, whatever it is, making it easy. So I am so excited in our second half to be able to bring our expert in, because she's going to really break it down and make it easy for us to understand not just why it's important to declutter, but really give us some strong strategies. So I hope everybody has a pen and paper ready for this one, because I know I will be taking notes, because when you can really gain that clarity and be able to have that fresh space, you're going to really be able to open yourself up to achieve great things. So for all of you watching at home, stay tuned, because we are going to be diving back in with strategies to help you stay organized, declutter, and on top of everything.
365 Daily Hustle is a global health coaching company helping purpose-driven women boss up and get healthy so that they can truly show up and thrive in the world. We help women lose weight, gain energy, and feel sexy and confident in their bodies. We help women create sustainable habits that support a positive mindset, nutrition, exercise plans, stress relief, and of course, self-care. If you're tired of feeling like a failure when it comes to your weight loss and health goals, please visit our website at 365dailyhustle.com or join the Healthy Hustle Facebook community today for healthy tips, recipes, workouts, and more.
Welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready to dive into all the strategies and thought processes behind cluttering. So, well, first of all, we've got to cheers our guests here.
Yes.
So let's go ahead. We've got
Andrea Cekorsky?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
We have her. She's our expert decluttering organization.
I heard this was simply fantastic.
Yes.
It is
yes.
simply fantastic.
Speaking of simple.
very good.
We might even just need to rename it to Simply Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Living real.
Exactly. So Andrea, we're so honored to have you here. And as I was mentioning in the first half, this was an episode that I really wanted to bring in because I know many women are so busy and it's easy to let things get out of control. And I know it's something that I really struggle with. I would love for you, how did you start on this? Where did you come from? What is your background that kind of got you to ignite the fire in yourself to go down this path?
So it's kind of funny. My initial answer to that would be I was not an organized person at all. I became a professional at hiding stuff. Ooh. So my closet was always full, the space underneath my bed, which my bed had to be like super high so I could really fit the good stuff under there. My drawers were always a constant mess, but the thing was is that it was a mess in my space, but not in my head. I knew where everything was it had its designated space.
Right. So it was sort of organized
in my
clutter.
head. It was organized chaos.
Yes.
You would have thought a tornado ran through my room. My mom hated when it came to weekly cleaning my room. It was more than just a dusting. It was always organizing. So, that kind of led into right out of high school, I went into the military. I was not going to college. I needed a break from school, so I went into the Army. And you learn really quickly how to put everything dress and put everything in its right place. And, very similar to that grocery store, everything is perfectly facing forward, everything's designated aisles. So that really just became a part of my lifestyle, being in the military. That's where it first got into. Then I got into logistics management when I got out of the military. And that's what I was getting hired for, was getting stuff from A to B, but making sure that everything had a designated place.
Isn't that crazy?
And process improvement. So how does this messy kid become this? I did logistics management for 15 years for some major companies. And it really just became a passion of mine. So I've helped friends and family and clients as well, but just identify what their style is and then kind of morph it into how do you make your house speak to you, but also in an efficient manner so that when your kids are crazy and you're fighting to get them dressed in school, you can still find the stuff you need to get them out the door.
I love what you're saying because, what I'm hearing you say is even with a system, you can find your own authentic way to do it. I'm all about helping women achieve success on their terms.
Right.
And what I hear is you can achieve organization on your terms.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes I get afraid that I have to do it someone else's way, but I like the idea and I'm intrigued that I can find a way for me.
One of the points I love to make is that there's no wrong way to organize other than not organizing at all.
Okay.
If you don't have a process, if you don't have a system, it's not that you can't abide by one or create one. It's just you need to find one that fits for you. And the other thing that you need to kind of figure out is your style may not be your significant other's style. It's not going to be your kid's style. So kids have a very different word. As a child, you're more acclimated to images and colors, more so than we are as adults, words and micromanaging. Okay. So if you can kind of find that happy balance between the kids' rooms and maybe common areas, but your bedroom is more of your oasis, you can have different areas in your house organized in different ways.
I'm liking the sounds of this because I think I've always struggled because I have always been told that when I try to do it, I'm not doing it the right way. And then I don't want to do it at all.
But what is the right way?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I know. Oh my gosh. So it's great.
When you go and when you're really trying to identify what your style is, there's 4 main pillars that I like to say to find your happy medium of what's your style. So you're either a very visual person or a minimal person.
And explain that again.
You like to have a visual person is going to be open concept shelving in the kitchen. You can see all of your stuff, the glass fronts or open shelves. That's going to be someone that's very visual. They like to see all the things that they have. They like to put it all on display and take inventory of everything that they own.
Okay.
Somebody that's more minimalist is going to want to put everything kind of behind closed doors. They're going to have a closet, but it might not be 100% organized, but it makes sense in their headspace.
Which one are you so far?
I'm definitely the hide it.
I'm the hide it too.
And I don't have stuff to hide, but I think for me, that OCD came in because women would just stop by my house, and it was out of fear, actually, of what they will think of me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I wanted everything to look neat, whether it, could have been opening the closet, like, don't open it, type thing. What is that movie, 27 Dresses, where they're like, don't open it, and then all these dresses come out. But yeah, I developed, it's not healthy, because I was caring what other people would think walking into my home. But it's definitely stuck. I definitely want places for it, and I want it away.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, your owning stuff is not bad. Mm-hmm. Owning too much stuff manifests into what kind of emotional connection you have, either with your own home, with your friends, with your family. Having your bedroom completely filled and overflowing with clothes on the bed, you're not sleeping with your significant other, that impacts your relationships. Having toys all over the house and stepping on Legos, which I was notorious for. Everybody hates that scenario. Yes. It creates this good cop, bad cop within your dynamic with the kids. So if you can try and find the other one that I find a lot of my clients come talk to me is about inherited clutter.
Yes.
The emotional connection to the things that you have. It's not about all the things that your mom gave you. It's about the relationship that you have with your mom, but you have the tangible things that they're still here. My dad passed away 2 years ago, and we are still going through his stuff. There's a lot of emotional connection to that.
Yeah.
But giving yourself the opportunity to process through those emotions and really find what you're connected to, will put greater meaning in the fewer things that you own of theirs versus having all of their stuff. Because you're just bringing
heartbroken. I mean, she really was. I could see it, and I was like, Mom, I just don't need it all, right? And it's like, tell me why you love this. And she wasn't a hoarder by any means, but she her mom had passed, right? So I think we tied the emotional piece to it. But yeah, I was like, Mom, okay, now that I hear the story behind this piece of something or other, now I can carry on that memory in words, oh, I don't need the stuff.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah, my dad was a big baseball fan. I won't say what team. But my dad was huge into baseball. And, that is an industry that there's a lot of collectibles. A lot of collectibles. And while I did grow up passionate about the same team, I don't need all 35 jerseys.
Yeah.
I don't fit into any of those jerseys. So the sentimental value of it has more for me in the fact that we went to the stadium, that we went and had those games, that we, that's where the emotional connection is for me. So helping customers, clients kind of reevaluate where that emotional connection is. Is it the physical jersey that you wore that still has the hot sauce down the front of it? Or is it the stories and the time that you spent together? And if that's the case, we can find a way to still honor those memories and have a designated spot in their shelf so that when you walk down the hallway, you see that story and you think of that person. But it doesn't have to encompass your entire home. It doesn't have to be a 3-car garage full of stuff. to still memorialize that person and honor them the way that they should be honored. They can't take the stuff with them,
Right.
but you don't want to inherit either.
Yeah.
So,
You said was there 4?
Yeah.
2. So
yeah. So,
one on the list.
yeah, I have the emotional and then inherited and then your daily clutter. Think about all the things that you go through, the mail that we get, how many times you go to the grocery store and get something, but yet, you have the new bottle of milk, but there's the old bottle of milk that hasn't really been finished, but you get, but the new one I need for a whole bottle of making a batch of cookies or whatever, right? So if your pantry is also a mess, think of how many things that you have expired in the pantry that if you had organized the space, even if it's cabinets, not everybody has a pantry, not everybody has a 3-car garage, but it's identifying a style that works for you in the space constraint that you have. And your daily mess can also accumulate into, I don't have time to go through this, I've got soccer practice, I've got a million things on your calendar to work through. When are you going to get to it? So if you can get in the practice of everything has its designated spot, use it, put it back, then it frees up your weekends to spend the time with the kids and to go and do those events or spend time with your friends that you otherwise would be like, I don't want anybody coming over because my house is a mess.
Yeah.
So the daily, the emotional, and the inherited, those are the ones that I really feel passionate about that I can help people work through.
So let's say your whole house is a hot
Yes,
mess.
I was going to say, everything has a place, but what if you're not to the place where everything has a place, and right now nothing has a place?
Yes,
So I like to walk my clients through let's identify if it belongs in this room, in this space, and if it doesn't, let's get it out.
Okay.
So I use bins. I have a bin for keep, a bin for trash, a bin for store, and a bin for recycle. And recycle could be donate. It could just mean that it's not staying in this house.
Yeah.
Trash is legit trash. It's going straight to the dumpster. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. That's its designated spot. If it's keep, but it doesn't belong in this room, let's put it in a box, a bin that we can then put it in the room that it belongs in. But focus on one room. Get that one room in its space. Now, if you have, say, a 1-bedroom apartment, your dining room could be, right now with COVID and all the kids at home,
office.
it's the office, it's the classroom, it's the everything, right? So, we've had to kind of morph into designated spaces becoming multi-use spaces. Right. But if you can say, okay, all of the school supplies are going to go in this corner of the room, and for each of the kids, or they have their space, their school stuff, once they're done doing their homework, they take it back to their room. It's just that everything in the house ultimately has its space. An assigned area that makes the most sense for its use, intended use. So I actually have programs where we will do one room to its entirety, or we'll do hour segments, and we'll do 4 hours just working on this room. Now, I've worked with hoarders where 4 hours doesn't seem like it gets anywhere. It doesn't seem like anything is going. But when you go and look at the quantity of bins that we've filled, it makes sense.
So again, the bins are trash,
Keep, trash,
store,
recycle.
Okay.
Yep. Store, I like to use that as kind of like a flex bin where if we just got done with the holiday season, you're probably going to put the Christmas stuff away, right? But maybe you don't have a space right now because of everything just kind of being everywhere. Maybe you don't have a designated place to store things. Once we get, those would be the last bins that we would go through.
Gotcha.
And we would create space to keep those storage bins and make them make most sense.
Is there a wrong way? I mean,
yes. Not doing anything is the wrong way.
Okay. I was like, oh gosh.
Yes. Not doing anything. I would love for people to be able to find their style, but also understand that when you're getting into organization, it can be a quick one and done and just power through, or it could be a long drawn out process. Either way, you still want to make sure the system works. Yeah. And if you don't have a system in place, then you're not organizing, you're just moving stuff around the house.
Yeah, you're shuffling it.
Yeah. So let's talk about this idea of the things that you're going to trash and get rid of.
Yeah.
You know, taking the example of your mom where you're looking at all this different glassware and you're like, you know, we don't need it. We have 5 sets, we don't need it. You know, I'm going through my closet and I see clothes that I still love, but maybe I haven't worn them in a while. When do you know it's time to trash?
I like to give my clients the opportunity to hold on to the clothes initially, but I do with an understanding. All of the hangers are facing backwards. So when all the hangers in the closet are facing backwards and the clothes that you actually wear, you put them back the opposite direction. After every quarter, you reevaluate your closet.
So you put everything facing backwards, and then as you wear it, you then put it
the
back.
opposite direction. Yeah. So any of the hangers that haven't been put back in your day-to-day use direction, those are the ones that you take out and you have an honest conversation with yourself. Do I need it? Do I donate it?
That's good.
I have one for clothes because I used to have an amazing walk-in closet and shoe space and just cubbies, like everything, and jewelry, like your ideal thing. And then I went through a divorce, right? And I went back down to a little baby slide door in an apartment. I'm like, wow, okay, I got a lot of stuff. And so I was like, and I love to buy new stuff. I mean, whether I get smaller or whether my muscles get bigger, I'm like, it just doesn't fit anymore. And I'm not going backwards. So my trick was if I bring something home, I have to get rid of something else. Cause like I'm not buying more hangers because I don't have the space for it. And so, yeah, I was like, oh, I love this, you know, like I brought this home and now I need 5 hangers, so I better pick 5. And you actually will pick the crap that you're like, okay, I haven't worn this in 2 years.
A long time.
And the one time I did, it was like for an hour, so I'm totally okay with it. So that's my trick to clothes.
Yeah, and that's a great approach to use for kids too, because kids outgrow clothes so quickly.
And toys.
Yeah, definitely the one in, one out approach works especially really well for kids. And having their buy-in, because if the kid loves the toys so much, but you haven't touched it, it's collecting dust. You haven't touched it in 6 months, but it has meant we can come up with a one in, one out process. Okay, don't get rid of that thing, but find something else to get rid of.
Yeah.
So this was something that I struggled with when my son was younger. The recycling of toys, because I didn't want to trash them unless they were broken.
Yep.
So I would love to recycle them and take them to, you know, Goodwill or be able to re-gift them to another kid. But again, he's
a boy.
And he's his mother's son, and he's like, no, this was my very first Matchbox car, or this was my block, and I could see the emotional attachment.
Yep, and you get the puppy dog eyes.
So I would have to do things when he was someplace else, so he wouldn't see it, because then it would be 4 years, and he'd be like, hey, what about that one thing? And so I would have to sort of do it covertly. But what are some tips that you work on with kids to help them let go of some of these things and be open to recycling? Because I think it's really empowering for kids to give back and to learn that concept.
There's always the opportunity for kids to learn from all of our mistakes, right? When they see how crazy the house is, sometimes we learn, you know, that's how my parents did it, and that's not how I want to be, that's not how I want to live. But it doesn't have to be every lesson that we teach our kids is a bad lesson either. If we can teach them how to organize, how to plan their day better, how to, you know, keep their toys in check enough that it's a common space and we're not all having to step on all the toys, teaching your kids to get into that process and having them help with the rooms that they dominate, per se. You know, like I don't recommend a parent going in and completely overhauling a kid's room without having the kids buy in when it comes to organization. Maybe if you're gonna like redecorate the room, that's different, but all their stuff is still gonna be there. That's a different approach than we're going to minimize, we're going to toss what you no longer play with or fit in or attach to. But your emotional attachment to your stuff doesn't have the same value as their emotional attachment. I would definitely get kids involved. Make a game out of it. And it doesn't have to be you know, this is all we're going to do today is just focus on your room. Make a game of it. Make it something where, for the littler kids, while their commercials come on their favorite TV show, okay, go get one toy out of your room that you want to get rid of during commercial break. It's just break it up. Don't, the loss of getting rid of one item is not as emotionally overwhelming as completely, I have to give up all my toys. No.
Yeah. Another thing that I would start doing with him is garage sales. I would be able to say, you can go and sell your items and you can keep the money to then go buy something new. And that definitely worked to motivate Nicholas.
Then they're like, ooh, I got
money to go get something else.
Yeah.
Yes. I do like the idea of garage sales for kids.
Yeah.
Garage sales tend to be a hang up for adults because we know what we spent on an item.
Right.
Yeah.
Kids don't understand the full concept of money at younger ages. So if you're going to do a garage sale, you have to commit to doing a garage sale. First, you have to look in your community and see how often you can do a garage sale, and some of them will only let you do it once a year, maybe once or twice a year. But you want to look at how often you can have one, and then whatever you designate as I'm getting rid of and I'm going to sell, I'm selling it regardless of what someone else values that amount for. If you're holding on to it because of the dollar amount that you paid for it, you'll never get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll never get rid of it.
We donated quite a bit, being a military family. So there was this thing called Airman's Attic, and actually I would rarely buy my kids anything new because my son was a boy and crushed everything. My daughter stained everything, that she wore, and so, but we donated. I would say, okay, cool, you can drop stuff off, and then you can pick new stuff up.
Yeah.
And the concept of it's okay to just give, and I don't need anything back either.
Yeah.
And there's so many organizations out there right now that benefit from, you've got homeless shelters of all varieties, women, veteran, on my website, I list all of the possibilities of places that you can donate, whether it be religious-based or income-based or anything like that. I can help you find one of those organizations near you to help you donate the stuff.
Good.
And I noticed I had a client one time getting rid of food. And she said, Karissa, it's such a waste of money. I have a problem with wasting, if I buy a whole pizza, I can't just eat one slice. Because I'm always, me, I'm always like, eat the pizza, but you don't eat the whole pizza, right? Don't restrict you, just eat it, but get rid of it. And she's like, well, I don't want to waste the money. And so she was tying, a lot of the money belief then comes in. If I'm not wasting my money here, I'm going to eat it, and therefore I'm just shoving things in my mouth. I become the disposal because I'm not going to waste. They don't want to waste food. And I remember I just asked her. I said, okay, do you know someone? It wasn't a pizza. It was a bunch of cookies. Because a lot of people will just give you goodies like that. She's like, I'm trying to lose weight.
And everybody wants to support their local Girl Scouts. How many times do you buy boxes and boxes of cookies?
And you don't need those. You take a sleeve and then donate too. And that's what I said. I said, who do you know that could really use a whole bunch of cookies right now? And she's like, actually, my neighbor fosters a bunch of teenagers and they would love cookies. And I'm like, well, how would that make you feel? And she was like, that actually would make me feel way better. And I'm not going to feel guilty after I eat them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, problem solved. Simplify, right?
Absolutely.
Who needs this? Because somebody does.
Yeah.
You don't have to
I do
take
that
it
a
all,
lot
sell it all.
at restaurants because, again, we're famous in America for getting very large portions. So a lot of times I'll tell people, divide it in two, and then I'll take the other one and just, give it to somebody on the street that I see and say, here you go.
Here's your food. 5-star plate. Boom.
Yeah.
I had a client once, they love to start projects around the house. So he was a little tinker. The husband and wife dynamic. She loved to have projects done around the house, so she always gave him projects to do. But he would only get some of the project partially done, and he would never go back and put the tools that he used for those projects back in the garage or the designated place that he could go back and find them. So there was this butting of heads, shall we say, in a lot more aggressive manner. But when we actually got done organizing, the husband had 15 of the exact same brand and size, weight of hammer, 15.
Oh my gosh.
I fully support getting projects done in home improvement, but if you have to go to the store every time to go get the tool that you need to do it when you probably had it somewhere in the house, if we organized your stuff a little bit better, think of how much money you would have saved by not having 15 hammers.
And those tools are not cheap.
They are not cheap.
No.
Last question. What is your style? Right?
Ooh.
The style expert, the organizational expert, what style is you?
So I really balance, I try to help find that happy balance between 4 main pillars. There are organizers out there that all have their own personal style and they've all trademarked them. And I don't think any one style is right or wrong. They don't always necessarily work for everyone. But if we can find your balance between being a visual or a minimal person, also if you are a maximum or a minimal, I just repeated myself, maximum or minimist, same thing. I'm stumbling on my words here. There are 4 styles that allow you to identify where you are kind of in your organizational style. So if you are someone that likes to have all of your stuff out on the shelf so that you can see everything that you own, visual. If you're someone that wants everything put away and very few things out, minimal.
If I walk into Andrea's house.
If you walk into Andrea's house,
what style is you?
It actually depends on what room it is.
Okay.
It actually depends on what room it is. In my kitchen, everything is put away.
Okay.
Nothing on the counters. If you go into my living room, I have an entire display of Lego Town that my niece and nephew and I have built. So I have a crazy amount of Legos. And they're all up on the shelf for display, and we change out the seasons on the Legos.
That
so
sounds
yeah.
fun.
And then when you get down to the smaller stuff, do you maximize your organization or are you minimalist? So for example, if you were organizing your medicines in your bathroom, do you have all of your medicine kind of dumped into one bin, or do you have it stored by allergy medicine, cold medicine, medicine for the kids? That would be, to what scale do we organize
You gotta
that?
find that balance.
Yep, and finding that balance between them.
Andrea, my goodness. I don't want to go without saying, I notice combat boots.
Yes.
And we have maybe 30 seconds to kind of wrap it up. But what is your business name? Where do the boots come into play?
Absolutely.
And where can people find you?
So I am in the Kansas City metro area. Like I said before in my intro, I was in the Army. I did active duty. I was a civil engineer and traveled quite a bit. I have moved at least 15 times in my life. But everywhere I've gone, my combat boots have gone with me. The only pair that I wore the entire time I was in the military. So I have carried them with me, and they are even the logo for my business, Combat Your Clutter. And I wear them to every job. I'm always wearing combat boots. So you'll know it's me if I'm wearing combat boots.
I love it.
And the website is?
Combat Your Clutter.
All right, simple
Wonderful.
and easy. Keeping it real. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show. We have a gift for
Absolutely.
you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's our first collaborative book, and we hope that you take some time and there's amazing tidbits and strategies all over, and one day you'll be bossing up, and who knows, maybe being in a book. So thank you for being a wonderful guest.
Yes,
thank you for
thank
your
you.
strategies.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I learned a lot. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah,
Yes,
follow me on
gorgeous.
social media. I do tips and trips all the time, and I'm looking forward to the middle of the year setting up a class, online class, to help people who maybe can't afford to have an organizer but can still do the training and the program themselves.
100%.
Do it online, DIY.
Love
Fantastic.
it. Love it.
Fantastic.
Oh my goodness. Wow, what an amazing episode. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much for watching today's show. We hope that it inspired you and allowed you to just really feel empowered enough to take action, hopefully declutter a room or two in your home. We wish you all the abundance and happiness in the world. Remember, you can catch every episode of Living Real on motivationandsuccess.com as well as livingrealtv.com. And until next time, ladies, keep it real.